Alright guys, this was an example from class from the limits review that we were having difficulty with. So what I wanted to do is just quickly run through this video and show you the proper way to take the limit as x is approaching infinity of this quotient here of the square root of 5x to the fourth plus 2x all over x squared. So you might think about multiplying by the conjugates, but we did learn another way in which you would divide every term by the largest power of x. And so when we look at this quotient here, we see the largest power on x is squared. So what we're going to do is divide each term by the equivalent of x squared. And so what I mean by equivalent of x squared is when we go inside that square root here, we're going to have a problem. We're going to end up having the square root of, if we take the square root of x squared, that's just x. So we actually have to, in the numerator here, under this radical, divide each term not by x to the x squared, but by the equivalent of x squared when you take the square root. So we're actually going to divide everything by x to the fourth in the numerator, because the square root of x to the fourth is x squared. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Just change colors again. Okay, so once we divide each term by the highest power on x, we got to do that to the denominator here too. But the denominator here is not going to be x to the fourth power. It's just going to actually be x squared because it's not under the radical. So what we've done now here is we've actually divided every term by what's equivalent to the square root, or excuse me, x squared. So if we took the square root of x to the fourth, we would get x squared here in red. So now it just is a matter of simplification, and what's nice about this is that we can still plug in some values for x. And you're going to see here that once we simplify here, we have 5 plus 2 over x cubed. That's all divided by 1. Okay, now this is the good part about this. So x is approaching infinity and we can't simplify anything here. So let's just think about this, what happens here. What happens if we pick a really large number on x? So let's say we take 50,000 or 100,000. Well, this whole part just essentially becomes nothing because you're going to divide it by such a large number that we're just going to disregard that. That's just 0, really. Okay, so then this just becomes the square root of 5. And that's what's nice about dividing by each term by the largest power in x. We can get terms like this where you have a denominator of the x, and if you put a really large number in, essentially this just becomes 0. This is eliminated. So the limit as x approaches infinity of the square root of 5 x to the fourth plus 2x, the whole thing divided by x squared, is just root 5. So if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to email me. Thanks.